making of films can sometimes be tedious and unforeseen events can pop up. Let's dive in and see some different films where unforeseen events were maneuvered and used at the final cut. In Batman Dark Knight, in the scene where the Joker was supposed to blow up the hospital building, it was all going as planned until the last detonation. In this scene, Heath Ledger was caught off guard when the expected blast didn't happen. Figuring out that the remote was malfunctioning, Heath decided to improvise by making it look like it was part of the plan in the story. He goes ahead to struggle with the remote. The real cause of this was that the detonating timing was slowing, thereby leading to the genuine shocking reaction of the Joker to the detonation. Due to this improvisation, Heath was able to hide the shortcomings that happened on set and made the scene as smooth as possible. In the scene where the Joker was locked up, forgetting their cue, Heath started a clap to get other actors to clap as directed in that scene. This incredible performance made Heath Ledger memorable for the Joker role, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's with his own improvisation. In Pirates of the Caribbean, it is evident that Johnny Depp had to do a lot of climbing in the story.
To negotiate, eh? Have you slimy git? Look what I got. I got a job to do.
In this scene, Johnny went totally off script to address the other cast, causing Orlando Bloom's confused reaction.
Hey, fish face! Do something?
This wasn't the only shocking thing. While delivering his line, Johnny falls off the ship unknowingly and stayed in character.
Hey, Scungili!
And the reaction to the fall from the other cast was totally genuine. Johnny continues to act and improvise in the scene to make it look planned.
Come to negotiate, eh? Have you slimy git? Look what I got.
Johnny's address and lines were off the top of his head and were unscripted. This improvisation led to the reaction he got.
I got a job to do. I got a job to do. And guess what's inside it?
In the scene where he was arrested,
Pirate or not, this man saved my life.
One good deed is not enough to...
Johnny was originally meant to leave the scene quietly, but he decided to improvise.
Milady, you will always remember this as the day that you almost caught Captain Jack.
His improv led to the director having to shoot a dramatic escape for him. Seeing Johnny Depp's performance, Robert Downey Jr. used more absurd improv in his scenes. In Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey was known to have synergy with his co-actors on and off the camera.
His lecture concludes at 4.
Looking forward.
In the scene where Jude Law was a bit slow to deliver his lines before Nanny came in, Downey improvised, which made both actors talk coincidentally.
Made present. The curious case of Mrs. Hudson, the absentee landlady.
Downey goes off script, Nanny brings them tea.
Not available.
You're meeting her, Holmes?
Have you proposed yet?
And it happened that she went with his improv without a flinch. In this same thing, Jude and Downey had the most ridiculous sync with their lines, which was totally unplanned, showing more of the synergy between both actors going on and off the script.
So you're free this evening?
Absolutely.
Dinner?
Wonderful.
The Royale?
My favorite.
Mary's coming. Get that out of my face.
It's not in your face, it's in my hand.
Get what's in your hand out of my face.
Clarky.
In the scene where Holmes points his walking stick to Watson, these lines between both actors were totally unplanned. Speaking of Robert Downey and improv, it is popularly known in Hollywood that the actor is one of the spontaneous people. The popular post-credits scene where the characters ate shawarma in The Avengers was a response to Downey's improv. Earlier in that scene, Downey mentioned that he wanted shawarma.
You ever tried shawarma? There's a shawarma joint about 2 blocks from here.
Downey in the same scene also pulled the right jokes at the wrong time.
We won.
All right, hey. All right, good job, guys.
In the scene where Rhodey comes around to crash Tony's house party, leading to a face-off.
Get out.
Robert Downey totally went off script and even couldn't control his laughter after.
Yes, Mr. Stark.
Give me a fat beat to beat my buddy's ass.
As the Legends of Downey on Improv goes on and on, we cannot but mention Jim Carrey when it comes to the most subtle but hilarious improvs.
Yo, Fletcher, how's it hang?
Short, shriveled, and always to the left.
In a heartbreak scene in Emmy, Myself, and Irene, Jim needed to cry and get emotional. But Jim started making a whistling noise with his nose to simulate his wailing. This rendered his co-actor very confused so much that she almost broke character. Her reaction to his acting was genuine and totally unplanned.
No, you're not a bad guy. No, you're not.
Have you ever seen that? They're hideous. Lifeless beady eyes, clawed feet, huge grotesque wings.
In a scene in Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey visits the Wachati tribe.
The Wachati are a peaceful people.
According to his character, he doesn't understand their language. Jim didn't keep quiet in this scene. Rather, he improvised.
Bumblebee tuna? Bumblebee tuna! Ace Ventura, pet detective.
Not stopping his comedic character, he turned to one of the actors and said,
Excuse me. Your balls are showing.
while shooting the scene, an uncontrollable situation happens to Jim.
Until the white man came.
As opposed to cutting the scene and restarting, Jim goes ahead to improvise by continuing his lines.
What's going on over here?
Oh yes, now, all young Wachati warriors must face...
In The Grinch Hates Christmas,
Funny she didn't rat on us, though.
Jim Carrey did the oldest trick in the book. This was unplanned, and he later had to go pour everything on the table away. In a crying scene, Jim had colored eyes as a body prop in addition to the makeup products used to create the character. And he had to wear contact lenses to make the eyes completely yellow. This reaction and the lens prompted tears to his eyes, and Jim decided to improvise with the tears. Some actors had real accidents in action, but decided to stay in character while suffering through their pain. Viggo Mortensen is an actor who experienced this. In Lord of the Rings, in the scene where Orlando rode to the pile of corpses, to show his rage, Viggo kicked a helmet and screamed. What we didn't know was that Viggo broke his toe in the process of kicking the helmet, and the scream was an original reaction to physical pain. In another scene, Viggo experienced a real death threat. The stunt guy fighting Viggo was supposed to throw a knife a bit farther than the target so that the camera angles and cuts would edit and make it real. Apparently, a mistake happened as the knife was thrown directly at Viggo and he had to deflect it by reflex. Still talking about accidents on set, Leonardo DiCaprio recorded one of the most iconic scenes in the history of Hollywood.
And I bashed in your skull with it. You would have the same 3 dimples.
In Django Unchained, DiCaprio hits his hand on a ceramic while acting.
Hey! Lay your palm flat on that tabletop!
It looked normal until DiCaprio looked at his hands and it was filled with blood. DiCaprio continued his acts, pretending and making the accident seem real.
Been a lot of lies said around this dinner table here tonight, but that you can't believe.
Let's see an improvisation that became one of the most emotional scenes in recent cinema history.
Ringing swords. And I placed my hand upon the Iron Throne.
In House of Dragon, the scene where Viserys was climbing the Iron Throne, The crown falling off was an accident and wasn't planned. Matt Smith improvised and picked up the crown to move without breaking character. This scene went on to look seamless after the improvisation was left uncut. It gets better and smoother when the director himself helps an actor's improv. Prior to shooting this scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones already suffered food poisoning and had little or no strength to do his fight sequence. If you would notice, this fight scene seemed rather slower than what other Hollywood fight scenes look like. At the climax of the scene, Jones was already too weak to continue the fight sequence. So the director decided to cut the fight short. To show his range, Chris Evans totally deviated from his lines to give one of the best speeches in film history. In the scene in Avengers, Chris was supposed to give the final instructions to the other Avengers.
This is the fight of our lives, and we're gonna win.
But totally went off script and gave a speech instead. By reflex, Rocket had to comment on the speech.
He's pretty good at that.
Right? All right, you heard the man. Stroke those keys, Jolly Green.
Some actors improvise when needed, some others improvise by nature. This is evident in Cat Williams' acting.
Mike! Mike! Get back! Play it!
From stand-up comedy to films, Cat has always been hilarious effortlessly.
My name is Money Mike, player. How you doing? All right, then. Don't squeeze hard. All right, what's happening?
This happens because he brings his sense of humor into his given lines in films.
I appreciate what y'all did, because these cockroaches would have cleaned me out this season.
In this scene, Ice Cube invites Cat to a party, and Cat says,
Folks, let me check my Palm Pilot. Look like I ain't doing shit.
Deacon. What's going on, Deacon? Exactly how much money was raised on the first Sunday?
In the court scene in First Sunday, Cat had no lines. As a matter of fact, he was supposed to just observe the court proceedings.
Miscreants! You're African-American! They held members of the church hostage!
Cat kept improvising and adding his lines.
He's an investor now. Is he a stockbroker or a deacon?
Cat keeps improvising side talks as replies to the original lines.
Is affecting us.
I'm not infected. I have papers to prove I'm not infected.
This courtroom scene would not have been hilarious without Cat's improv.
Mention wearing an Easter suit with a Halloween shirt and tie set.
As the choir master, Cat was supposed to criticize one of his singers in another scene.
Well, I object, Your Honor.
I object. Well, everybody objects.
Cat practically went off script.
Miscreants! You're African-American! They held members of the church!
His improv in this scene was so funny that his co-actors almost couldn't hold their laughter.
Wearing an Easter suit with a Halloween shirt and tie set.
It is almost impossible to refrain from breaking character when acting with Cat.
You mistakenly got caught. That's what happened.
In another scene, Cat shows his frustration but improvises it with comedy.
When are you not hungry?
What church are you in?
Ricky, sit down.
Unknowingly to the audience, that scene was more of a monologue for Cat.
Fainted? I'm just a little frustrated. I'm not scared no more. I'm not just gonna keep being scared.
If you enjoyed watching this, check out Movie Mistakes the directors refused to fix because the acting was too good.